Hi, I'm here backstage with Halsey. How's it going?
It's going really well. I'm really excited.
Yes.
I'm nervous too, though.
We were just saying it's your first time here, so have you been kind of soaking up the atmosphere already?
Yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of really dirty and really drunk, and so am I, so it's good. We're all on the same page. I'm surprisingly, I'm a little nervous, but I'm also, I feel quite at home, which is good because, my mentality on stage for most of my career has kind of been, a little messy and, not quite perfect, and I feel like this is the crowd that will appreciate that. So I feel a little bit less, the pressure to be perfect.
You were tweeting earlier about being sad about the weather because you bought wellies, which I think is maybe the first time anyone's been sad that it's not raining at Glastonbury.
I heard it was part of the experience, and I bought wellies. I went out of my way yesterday. I was in Bristol, and I went to a store, and I bought wellies, and I was, telling the shop person, I was like, I'm going to Glastonbury, I got my wellies, and now I'm here, and it's not raining, and I'm like, aw. But a dry stage is a happy performer, so definitely happy about that.
No fools. So your second album, Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, came out 2 weeks ago. It's the first #1 album for a female artist in America this year, which is obviously very impressive, and congratulations. But there's so many exciting, innovative female artists around. Do you think that tells us that something about the industry that it's taken 6 months for a woman to have a #1 album?
I think the hard thing is that it wasn't just men constantly dethroning women. I think it was the big male players put out records this year. You've got Kendrick Lamar, Drake, the Chainsmokers, Ed Sheeran, some of the biggest male artists in the game. So I think it was kind of hard for any newcomers to fight through. The positive thing though, I think right now is that I had the #1 record, Katie had a #1 record, and now Lord's having a #1 record. So it's back to back to back women. I know Lana's set to release this summer. I'm sure Miley's going to be putting out something as well. So also SZA had her moment in the US, which is incredible. I think that this summer women are going to take charge once again. And obviously last year was massive. You had Adele, you had Taylor Swift. I'm hoping that the balance kind of returns. But in the meantime, when I found out that I was the first female #1, I was pissed. Everyone thought that I'd be excited, and I was, but I was also I think there's so many women who have put out better albums than me who deserve that. So all we can continue to do is shine a light on female artists that we love and, give them the exposure and visibility they deserve.
So on the album as well, there's quite a big Romeo and Juliet influence, and you have a quote from it tattooed on your arm as well. What is it about that story that fascinates you or inspires you so much?
I went through a really bad breakup with someone that I was really invested in, kind of symbiotic, parasite invested in. We were living together, we were making records together, and I had been with them kind of before this all took off for me. So I think I found a lot of safety in them, and a lot of them reminded me of who I was. And then I watched who I was slowly start to change in order to keep the relationship intact. And so, I kind of felt like a version of myself died. And I think a version of them did too. And so it felt very much like a Romeo and Juliet story where we sacrificed so many parts of ourselves trying to make the relationship work, when in the end, if we would have probably stayed who we were, we'd probably still be in love. So I think I really connected to it in that way. But I think the thing that's interesting about my story is it's almost what would have happened if Juliet chose her? What if she chose herself? And was I'm not doing this, And so when I was writing the album, it was really about making an album that wasn't about him. It was about making an album that was about me. And I hope I've succeeded in doing that. Yeah.
Another thing you said before the album came out was that you wanted to prove that you could write big radio hits as well, after doing the Chainsmokers song.
Yeah.
Do you think that you succeeded with this album?
I think I just wanted to do the record my way. You know what I mean? It was how can I make music that is universal and well received in the mainstream, but do it my way without making any compromises or chasing any kind of formula, trying to make Closer over and over and over again, which I don't really think I did. I really approached this record with a very strict mentality of staying true to myself and writing music in my own voice with my own narrative. I executive produced the album. I wrote every song on the record, and so I really took control in that way. Now or Never is a top 10 hit right now in the US, which is really exciting for me, getting in the car and hearing my song on the radio and it being my voice and being wow. It's a really powerful feeling. And I think that there's, some other songs on the album that have potential. But at the same time, there are songs that are spoken word, or they're a bit more experimental, or they're 1 minute and 40 seconds long, little blips in and out that kind of cater to the storytelling part of it. So for me, this time around, I just wanted to strike that balance in a way that was people were saying, you know, pop star, pop star, pop star, pop star. And at first I was like, well, I don't want that. And then I think for me it's about how can I have that label but still, you know, be an artist who's in control of her own narrative and in control of her own dialogue. Not that there's not many pop artists who are, but for me it was like, you know, it's a hard struggle. You can lose yourself very quickly. And I had just lost myself to a relationship, so I wasn't going to let the music industry take me down. Yeah.
If there's one thing that you could achieve with this album, what would you want it to be?
I think I've already done it. I think all I really wanted was for people to like it and just to know that, you know, the first time wasn't a fluke and that it wasn't an accident, that it wasn't a mistake, and that, you know, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and following my destiny. And every day I meet fans who tell me they love this album just as much or if not more than the first. And, you know, all I can continue to do is make music that makes them feel represented and makes them feel connected to something.
Thank you very much, Halsey.
Yeah, of course.
Great.